we ask for guidance. We ask for direction this morning in the name of Jesus.
Saints, where you are, just keep praying.
Father, in the name of Jesus,
God is about to encounter us with
this service
a
without
tailor-made word.
a word of guidance.
It is tailor-made to address a need present in your life.
Tailor-made word,
and that word locates you in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. Lord, the word that will alter the trajectory of my life. By your word, change, alter the trajectory of my life. Place me on the path of life into the glorious destiny that you have prepared for me. In the mighty name of Lord Jesus Christ, keep praying.
Destiny you have prepared for me in the name of Jesus.
Thank you, Lord Jesus. Thank you, Lord Jesus.
Thank you, Jesus.
Thank
We
you,
give you all
Jesus.
the glory in the name of
Thank you,
Jesus.
Father.
Blessed be your majesty, Jesus.
Lord, you're wonderful.
Thank you, Jesus.
We give you all the praise.
Amen.
And we give you all the glory.
Amen.
And so, Holy Ghost, the custodian of God's wisdom and power upon the earth throne, we surrender this ceremony into your hand. We ask that you take total preeminence.
Amen.
And we hide flesh behind the cross. We ask that Christ don't take the center stage.
Amen.
That your people will be blessed by the wisdom that cometh from above.
Amen.
In the mighty name of the Lord Jesus Christ.
Amen.
Thank you, Lord, for answering our prayer.
Thank you, Jesus.
And blessed and be highly exalted.
Amen.
In Jesus' mighty name, I pray.
Amen.
And God's people say,
Amen.
Amen and amen. Praise God.
Hallelujah.
I'm so excited. I don't know why. That's the joy of the Holy Ghost. Praise God.
Hallelujah.
Let's have our seat in God's awesome presence. Praise God.
Hallelujah.
All right. So, like I said, this is the last sermon, the last service in the month of January. Don't forget that January was tagged as a month of precept upon precept. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
So the Lord has been teaching us practical and pragmatic wisdom on how to walk along a particular line. And what was that line? We're talking about the laws of spiritual equilibrium. The laws of spiritual equilibrium. Praise God.
Hallelujah.
And we took about 3 sermons to talk about the laws of spiritual equilibrium. If you missed any one of them, powerful sermons, if you missed any one of them, just go to my personal Facebook page or the Facebook page of the Virtual Contingent Church, and you can catch up on those sermons. The Lord will bless you mightily as you do that.
Amen.
Praise God.
Hallelujah.
Now, today's sermon is more like a perfection of all that I've been teaching in the month of January. Now, what I'm about to teach you is not really a law. Please hear me very carefully. It's a principle. What's the difference? A principle is the application of a law by the exploitation of that law. Am I making sense? Now, I defined what a law is, what the word spiritual is, and what equilibrium is. I don't want to go into all of that because of time. But you can just go back and catch up on the sermon on my Facebook page or the page of the Virtual Contingent Church. So, a principle is really the exploitation of a law. But let me define a law so it makes more sense to you. Now, a law is a connection between a cause and an event, an action and a reaction, guided by prevailing influences and force, all working within the jurisdiction of a system. So it's a pattern of interconnected actions and reactions, choices and consequences, right, that are influenced by prevailing forces, all acting within the jurisdiction of a system. Whenever you see such a pattern, it tells you that a law is in operation. So an example of a law is the law of gravity. You throw something up and that thing comes down. It tells that a force is operating within that system called the gravitational force or the force of gravity. So a law is operating in that system. Now, when you exploit a law to your advantage, that exploitation or that application is the principle. Does it make sense? So we have the law of gravity, but we have the principle of flotation. We have the principle of upthrust. We have the principle of lift. Am I making sense to you?
Yes.
Because there's a law called the law of gravity. If there was no law of gravity, there's nothing like the law of flotation. But I know that law, that has to do with weight. and mass and pulling down. Am I making sense?
Yes.
So today's sermon, I'll be talking to us about the law or the principle called the principle of Le Chatelier. It's called Le Chatelier's principle. And that principle, I will now extrapolate into the spiritual so that you can find a way to apply it spiritually in your life. Remember, I said that there's a parallelism that exists between the natural world and the spiritual world. So if you can identify a law or a principle in the natural world, it can be understood and extrapolated to be applied in the realm of the spiritual. Am I making sense?
Yes.
Praise God. This is very, very deep. Follow me. doing and what it does to them. If not, they will continue without being told. If somebody has to tell you that you should fast, you should pray, you should praise God, you should worship God, if you need to be reminded to do that, you have not come to the third level of knowledge yet. I need to tell you that you should eat. Of course, even though you don't eat, you begin to waste away. Emancipation sets in. Praise God, because there's the catabolism of your body. You begin to waste away. I don't need to tell you that, you know that. So you know what eating does to you. So nobody needs to remind you to do that. If you still need to remind the believer what to do, that's not come to the third degree of knowledge. Am I making sense?
Yes.
Praise God. Let me use a popular, thing that we all know. Jogging. If I ask you now, do you know what jogging is? You say yes. Do you know how to jog? You say yes. But do you know what jogging does to you? How many of you know that? Very few do. But let me explain. Now, in 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 8, Paul says under the inspiration of the Holy Ghost that for bodily exercise profits a man little, but godliness is profitable unto all, having promise of the life that now is and that which is to what? To come. So let me use exercise as an example. Many of you know how to jog. Many of you know what jogging is, but very few know what jogging does to your body. That's why you don't do it regularly. Jogging is one of the most effective cardiovascular exercises. And when you jog, you put some level of exertion upon your heart. So heart rate that's normally 60 beats per minute at rest rises to as high as 120 beats per minute upon exertion. What does that do? That increases circulation so that there is the pumping of more volume of blood, number one, and there's the pumping of blood more. That means the frequency is more, the volume is increased. What does this do? Three things. Number one, there's the increase in perfusion of blood to cells of the body. So whatever you are eating, the nutrients, the amino acids, the glucose, the vitamins, and the coenzymes and the enzymes you're eating, now the blood is supplying it more effectively to cells and tissues in your corporeal body. So there's increase in perfusion. That's number one. Number two, there's increase in oxygenation. When you exercise, you breathe more. There's hyperventilation. Am I making sense for us?
Yes, sir.
So oxygen now begins to infiltrate more of the cells and tissues at a higher concentration. Oxygenation. Number three, there is the increase in the elimination of the waste products of metabolism from the body. What you have eaten and have become waste products, toxins, free radicals, begin to be eliminated, at a quicker or a faster rate. Praise God.
Hallelujah.
All because you are jogging. You see it now. That knowledge is in degrees. I just taught you guys now some physiotherapy now. Praise God.
Hallelujah.
So you know how to jog. You know what jogging is. That's the first level. You know how to jog. But now the third level, you know what jogging does to your body. So you do it all the time without being told. The same thing applies in your spiritual life. The spiritual disciplines that we have been told to do, the praying, the meditation, the fasting, the praising, the worshiping, and all of these things, do you know what they do to you? If you do, you will continue the same without being told or compared or coerced. Praise God.
Hallelujah.
This is very, very good. I don't know if I'm making sense of this.
Very good.
Praise God. I'm enjoying myself. Praise God.
Hallelujah.
Now, the enemy, please watch it very carefully. Now, I'm going to my sermon. The enemy does not know sometimes how much you know. So they launch what we call a tactical temptation or a strategic vicissitude. What's the aim? To abort or disengage a particular spiritual discipline that you have strength in. Then they want to see how you react with your soul or respond with your spirit. And then they can draw an inference that truly this man knows what he's doing or does not know. Oftentimes the believer may do things by inspiration. They were moved by the Spirit. But cognitively or by revelation, they don't know what they were doing. So they don't continue. I mean, you can bear witness with me. Now, sometimes there's a season in your life where you just feel like praying, maybe a week, 2 weeks. After a while, that leading or that nudge just disappears. What happened? You are doing it by inspiration. That inspiration is knowledge communicated subliminally to your heart subconsciously. So you know what you're doing, but you don't really know consciously what you're doing. Am I making sense?
Yes, sir.
So willfully, you don't continue the same thing. So when the enemy does that, they watch to see your reaction, your response to their tactical temptation or strategic vicissitude. And if you continue, even in the presence of these things, they know that this one has truly learned what he's doing. Praise God. Another axiom, you Holy Ghost with something. If I teach you something, you know it. If you can do that thing by yourself, you have learned it. But when you can, you understand it. Praise God. That's deep. Most people don't understand what they are doing. So they stop. That's why they cannot teach somebody else. It dies with them. So Proverbs chapter 4 verse 7 says, "The man of the getting still get understanding." That means wisdom is a principal thing, no arguments about that. But as you're getting wisdom, get understanding, because if all you have is wisdom, it will die with you when you go out of this world. But understanding is the impetus or the force or the instrumentality through which we transfer knowledge from one generation to another. So when we are gone out of the way, another generation is there to continue from where we stop. They don't have to reinvent the wheel because they understand what the previous generation did or we are doing. I don't know if I'm making sense of this. Depth of revelation, depth of knowledge, depth of understanding. We need to grow in these things. Enough of plain church, plain village in church. Enough. Come up hither as an instruction. Come up hither. It's an instruction from Jesus Christ. Come up hither. From God, come up hither. You have tried too long in that low plane. Come up to the plateau. Come up to the zenith of the mountain. Praise God.
Hallelujah.
It's getting deep. Am I making sense to us?
Yes.
So they will launch a tactical temptation, a strategic vicissitude, and they will watch to see how you will respond or react. When you react, you do so with your soul. When you respond, you do so with your spirit. What's the difference? In reaction, there is no thinking. That's why it calls reaction time. How quick did he react to the stimulus? There's no thinking. So it's called reflex reaction or reflex action. When you step on a nail, you withdraw your hand immediately. What are you thinking about? You need to think whether to remove your hand or to twist. No. The action is withdraw your hand quickly. Reaction is of the soul. Even animals do the same thing. You prick them, they will jerk. Reaction. No thinking. But the response is of the spirit. So you think that, is this from the devil or is this from God? How do I respond to this? There's thoughts, there's cognition involved in response. Am I making sense to us?
Yes.
So watch this now. When the enemy throws a temptation or a challenge or a vicissitude at you, and you abandon your spiritual disciplines like praying, meditation, fasting, and the rest of them, to address that challenge, they know that you don't know what you are doing. Am I making sense to us?
Yes, sir.
You don't abandon spiritual disciplines to attend to vicissitudes. Because at the end of the day, they will kick you out of spiritual equilibrium. That's what I'm going to. They know that this guy has been spiritually at equilibrium. What can we do? What is that thing that he has strength for? That is very good in praying. Meditation is a bad guy. So you know what we'll do? Let us attack his meditation. Cripple his prayer, he will come down. So they don't throw a haphazard or a spontaneous challenge at you. It is tactical in its design, strategic in its operation. Then when you react like a fool, they say, with regular meditation, studying, teaching, that mind is updated with revelation knowledge. Praise God.
Hallelujah.
So every believer is supposed to be equipped with knowledge that makes him to be able to re-establish equilibrium when the enemy throws a tactical temptation and a strategic vicissitude to disengage or to push out of equilibrium with God. It is the lack of that knowledge that makes men to fall from where they were before. To ground zero. Praise God.
Hallelujah.
Praise God.
Hallelujah.
Thank you, Lord Jesus. This is very, very deep stuff. Extremely deep stuff. Praise God.
Hallelujah.
Now, as I round off this teaching, you may ask somebody, what if I've fallen into temptation? Am I doomed? Is that the end of my life? No, that's not the end of my life. Praise God. For the righteous man will fall 7 times, or in 7 different ways. But every single time he will rise back up. Praise God. That's what the Bible says. Now, James chapter 1, verse 2 and verse 3 says something profound. It says, count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations. Right? Knowing that the trying of your faith worketh patience. But let patience have a perfect work, that you may be entire, wanting nothing. And he says, if any one of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God liberally. Let him ask of God, who giveth unto all liberally or generously, and upbraideth not or discriminateth not, and he shall receive. Now, watch very carefully. It tells you something by retrograde exegesis, and the reason why this believer fell was due to lack of what? Wisdom. So I'm saying, you need to grow in wisdom, grow in knowledge, grow in understanding. The reason why you fell into temptation and remained there was because you were lacking or weak in a particular dimension of God's wisdom. Praise God.
Hallelujah.
So the Bible says, count it all joy. There's a provision, there's a system in the kingdom to rise back up, even if you fail before. Praise God. And I always say something, if you fall into a temptation, it's a good thing because it has revealed to you that you lack strength in a particular area. Don't look at the bad side, oh, I fell again, oh, I've missed it, oh, no. Look at the good side. It's a revelation of a weak area of your life, and you need to put in more strength. Praise God. Ecclesiastes chapter 7 verse 10. If the axe head be blunt, then shall he, the lumberman or the lumberjack, put in more strength. Hold on. But wisdom is what? Profitable to direct. So, where do I put my strength? Is it in the cutting or in the sharpening of the blade? That's the wisdom there. I don't know if I'm making sense. So, count it all joy. Even if you fell in the past, it's a revelation that you have a weak area that needs to be strengthened. And so, by the inspiration of the Holy Ghost, I pray for every single one of you who's online, that the Lord will encounter you and keep re-encountering you. Amen. In the mighty name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Where you are today will be the least you ever be. In other words, from today and henceforth, you begin to rise higher in revelation knowledge. Amen. In the mighty name of Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. I pray for you are preserved from temptations. The Holy Ghost will begin to work more effectively. You will yield more readily to Him. Amen. His teaching, Amen. His dictates, Amen. In your lives. Amen. In the mighty name of Lord Jesus Christ. So Lord, we say thank you for answering our prayers. Be blessed and highly exalted. In Jesus' mighty name, we have prayed. What people say? Amen. Amen. Praise God.